Hmm. Which one's gonna have the best box? That's not it. We'll do black screen. I don't give a fuck. I fucking chat. Oh hell no! I'm not reaching down that for that shit. No. Okay. Get here. Dude, I just, I am my knee. Okay, black screen. We're getting into the ambiance of this shit because fuck cat. Okay, okay. Let's actually do this fucking story time shit now. Okay. So back to what I was trying to fucking say earlier that I obviously didn't fucking succeed in. Um, Scary stories, bro. One of the things that I'm good at is telling scary stories. If I'm fucking paying attention, obviously, because if I'm not, then I don't know where the fuck I'm going with most of my shit that I'm talking about. But dude, let me get my face up in this shit, bro. Well, no, well, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to get my face in there, bro. That's too much thinking, and I didn't want to look accountable for like my face. Well, let me tell the story. Let me tell the story. So how this works is my family has been not known, but we're pretty sensitive to some things. So like sometimes we'll hear shit, sometimes we'll feel shit, sometimes we'll be aware of stuff, right? And when I was growing up, I'd hear a lot about it. A lot of the times I'll hear from my mother, from my grandmother, from my uncles, I'll hear something, okay? Whether it's about them seeing something or them being aware of something, it's always something. Oh yeah, and if you totally want to just like since there's nothing going on the screen other than my fucking cat emote thing. So, if you just want to listen in, because this is basically just going to be a listen in thing, and I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna try to overlay anything on this. Um, but yeah, no, they'd always see something, hear something, and they'd always tell me about it because me, as growing up, I always wanted to know about it. It's mysterious. It's something that isn't of this world, I guess. Like it's out there. Like no one's gonna regularly talk about it, right? It's something that would only be brought up by that one person. I'm that one person and we're gonna do that shit today. So let's start from the first story that I've ever heard that made me be into scary stories. Uh as I said, growing up, a lot of people talk to me about shit like that. One of my favorite stories that I can remember now is from my grandmother, actually. Oh my god, if I say one more time, fuck. So what she told me was that she sat me down. She's just like, hey, she's like, Mija, they're in Hispanic, okay, Mija, there's stuff out there that is not explainable, and it is stuff that can't be seen with the human eye. Sometimes, obviously, I'm hooked by this point. I'm like, oh shit, she's about to tell me some spooky ass shit. I am ready to hear it. And it starts like this. This is like a whole scenario, okay? Like there's a series of shit that happens in this one story. So we'll start from her POV because when I tell you, that when I heard the story, I went and fact checked her. I believe my grandma with all my heart. But when she told me this story, I had to fact check her. Like, I had to see if they were like in on it. I had to see if she was lying to me, because she knew I was into that stuff, but she was also very religious. So, like, it felt out of context for her to tell me that. Like, it didn't make sense for her to tell me that because she would always try to not I don't want to say like she wouldn't try to like make me not believe it, but she would try not to talk about it because it's bad. If you talk about it, you're calling that shit towards you, and she didn't want that. Um, let me actually start the fucking story now. Let me stop getting off topic. My fucking ADHD started hitting shit. Probably not good that I'm eating chocolate, but well. Uh, so what happens is she says that she's driving home from her job. I want to say her job, and on the way there, she gets this really bad gut feeling. And so she's sitting there and she pulls her phone out. And I mean, she's driving and she pulls her phone out, already not giving a good example, but whatever. And she's getting ready to call my mother because my mother is usually, out doing mischief. So she was going to call and make sure she was okay. When she had looked up from her phone, she had saw a lady in all white sitting in the middle of the road. So obviously my grandma, she fucking swerves and she tries to dodge this lady. And when she stops, she turns over and she looks behind her and she can see this lady and she's standing there and she's looking at my grandmother, except you can't see her face. She says she doesn't remember what her face looks like. But she can see her standing there looking in the general direction of the car, like she's looking at her through the back mirror that my grandmother is looking through to see her in the road. And my grandmother says that when she saw her, she could see to like the left or like the right. I don't know specifically, but she could see to the side of her that there was a like the metal, like the railways, or not the railway, the guardrails was bent in, and it looks like a car had like rammed through and crashed. And as I said, my grandmother, she's a very kind woman, very nice. She drove off. She said, "Fuck that shit. I'm not getting in that. That's scary. She's staring at me. We're not playing this game, right?" So she drives off, right? But, as I said, she's a kind woman. She turns back around. She's just like, okay, I'm just going to check on her. I don't understand what's happening. She might have needed help. She turns around and she gets to where she saw this lady, except now nothing from what she saw was there. The lady was gone. The guardrail was like it looked like it hadn't even been touched. It looked bent, but it wasn't like broken. Like she couldn't see what looked like someone had rammed into it. She said that she drove past really slow to check to see if the lady was still there or if someone needed help. And she could feel all of the goosebumps like on her back and on her neck and on her arms just rise, and like it was like her hair was standing to attention. She said no, and she drove back and she left. Now, while that may sound unbelievable, while that may sound scary, it was what she told me after that terrified me. She said that in the same process of her going through that experience with the lady, um, my uncle had went through another experience, not similar, but just as fucking bizarre. And it was what his experience was when she had pulled her phone out to check the message that she had gotten, because she had gotten a message from him saying that he was locked out of the house. The same time that she had pulled her phone out to check it to get ready to call someone because she felt like there was something wrong, right? He's sitting here, and my uncle, I think she said he was around like, I want to say about like 17, 18. Like he was still pretty relatively young. And he was coming back from a friend's and he said the door was locked. What he said he went through was that when he got home, none of the siblings were there. And my grandmother had like 8 kids, okay? None of them were at the house. So it was just him coming back and the door was locked. Well, he tried the door, it was locked. He had texted my grandmother saying that, asking when she was going to be there so that she could let him in, right? And all of a sudden, he said he heard what sounded like the radio. And when he heard it, he was confused because the door was locked and there was no sound coming from the house and none of the siblings were home because they were all out doing their thing. So he thought, who is that? What is that? Is someone in there? Like, is he thinking like siblings could have lied to him? Someone was actually in the house. And he went in, well, he didn't go in because the door was locked. He proceeded to walk around the house and check the windows. And as he was checking the windows, he couldn't see inside. It was dark, pitch black. There was nothing going on. So he came back to the front door. And when he came out of the front door, as he said, okay, was slightly ajar. Like someone had opened the door and like peeked out to like see if he was still there. And when he went, he obviously went inside because, why wouldn't you, I guess? He went inside and he could still hear the radio playing. And the way he described the house was that it's this one story house. And as soon as you open the front door, it's like it leads straight to a hallway that leads straight down. And from this hallway, it like branches out into bedrooms. So like it would be like at the very end of the hallway, it would branch out into 2 bedrooms that were like a fork in the path. It would branch out like that, and then there was another 2 bedrooms in the middle of the hallway that branched out in the middle, and then in the front, it led going if you like walked straight in and then straight to the right, it would lead to the living room, and if you walked straight in and straight to the left, it would go into the kitchen dining room. So he opens his door and he can see like he's like direct eye vision straight down the hallway because that is where he's hearing this radio. He hears it, and as he steps into the house, he says what he feels is a electric current go through his body. So like, I mean, as soon as he passes this door frame, it's like like it goes like straight through his feet, up his legs, into his arms, into his head, and it's just like this electric feeling. He said that as soon as he felt that, he felt like something was wrong, but he had to look because, as a 17-year-old boy, you obviously have to go and see what dangers are lurking in the house. Like, you can't just wait for someone adult to get home, whatever. So he says he walks in and he's like doing like he's like Call of Duty, checking the corners and shit. He checks in the living room, doesn't see nothing there. Checks in the kitchen and the dining room, doesn't see nothing there. So he continues walking down the hallway. He opens one door. I don't I don't really know the details too much, but he opens one door, doesn't see nothing there. Opens the other door, doesn't see nothing there. Gets down to the very end of the hallway, and then there's just 2 bedrooms. Both of the bedroom doors were open, like wide open. One was a storage closet, he said, and then the other one was I think I want to say grandma's room. It was either grandma's room or it was like an altar room that was made for like, like when they do like they have their little uh like Jesus candles and like all that shit on there. Um, he walks in there and that's where he's hearing this radio, but it sounded like it got quieter. Like the further down he got into the hallway, the quieter it got. Like you could still hear it, but it was just slowly, faintly faded away into the distance. So he opens his door and he walks into the altar room because the door's wide open. And he turns the corner and he looks, he looks to the right, looks to the left, into this door. Can't see anything. Can't even find the radio, he said. And as soon as he walks fully into the room, he said he felt threatened. Like he felt scared. Like something was in there that shouldn't have been in there. Like he shouldn't have been in there. So, like all reasonable people do, he starts fucking running. He runs out of the room. He starts running down the hallway, and he says, like a orchestra, every single electronic in that house goes off. Like he said, it was almost dead silent to the point that you could hear a coin drop, to the TV, the radios, the microwave, the oven. They're all blasting. Like all their alarms are going off, and he is. I mean, his man is booking it down this hallway. He gets to the door and he's he grabs the door handle, and as soon as he grabs the door handle, my mother pushes the door open, and he's freaking out. Like he gets like
Oh, that's crazy.
thrown back from the door getting swung open at him while he was pulling the door open. And as soon as she walks in, it's silent again. Like there's no sound. But my mom can feel stuff like that, right? So it's like she felt something was wrong. And she pulls him out to the front and she closes the door again. And she said that she sat there with him at the front door waiting for grandma to get home. And when she did get home, she saw that they were sitting outside, and she's just like, "Why are y'all sitting outside? The door's open." And they're like, "There's something wrong." And my grandmother was like, "Uh, did y'all experience something too?" And I mean, they talked about this shit like so nonchalant. Like they sat there and they told this story like it was one of those fond family bonding moments. I was like, the fuck? I don't know about you, but if I'm sitting here, minding my own damn business in my house, and all of a sudden all my alarms go off, I might just fucking piss myself. Just keel over. Fuck that. But I just said, I fact checked that shit. So what I did was, whenever grandma told me, automatically, before my grandmother could even scheme, I went to my mother and asked her what happened that night. And, obviously not everyone's there. So, like, not everyone knows the full story. But she said what she remembered from that story was that she was hanging out with my dad before they had gotten married, before they had gotten together. She was hanging out with him. And all of a sudden, she said she felt this eerie feeling. And she had to get home. That's the only thing she think it was that she had to get home. And so she basically dropped everything and she fucking ran. Because, I mean, she was only like down the road, I think. And by the time she had gotten there, she could see the lights on in the house, but she didn't hear anything. Like she couldn't hear anything outside the house. It was just the lights were all on in the house. Just all the windows were like, back in the day they had like the fucking like the blinds and like the little drape stuff. She could see that the lights were on. And as she goes to pull the door, he flings it open, and she says that he looked like he had just fucking seen a ghost. You know what I mean? Like this guy looked terrified. He had like the prickles on his skin, his like eyes were dilated. It was insane. Okay. So we he when I asked the uncle, because I had to go down the line. Okay, I asked my mom, and then I asked my grandma, then I asked my mom, and then I asked my uncle. I was like, "What happened that night?" And when I tell you this man, he looked at me and he was like, "What did they tell you?" And obviously I recount the story. I don't want this my man mad at me. Okay, I was like, "Yeah, well, this is what they told me. Is it true?" And he was like, he's like, "They didn't tell you the whole story." And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, "Holy shit." I gotta hear what's happening. I was, what do we got going on here? Like, is it like, did this happen? Did this happen? This happened. So supposedly, the side of the story that they didn't tell me because he kept it to himself was that when he was running from the sounds from the room, he said he heard what sounded like running, like someone was running behind him and chasing him, and that's why he was so freaked out. It wasn't, I mean, obviously, if fucking all the sounds going off would be scary, but he said that that house was fucking haunted, and he would never, he would not sleep by himself. Like he would sleep with his brother, and like those two are like two peas in a pod. Okay, they're always together now, but like back then they obviously sibling rivalry, but he stuck to him since then. Like he would not leave be in that house by himself, which they didn't stay there long. They only stood there for like, I think after that she said they only lived there for like another year and a half and then they moved. But like, mm-mm, mm-mm. How you gonna tell me that like, because I mean now he talks about it. Like when I asked, I was pretty young, but now he'll bring it up like when we have like our get-togethers and we do like the fucking campfire shit. He'll tell the story now. But I'm telling you, that man looked scared when I asked him when I was younger, okay? He was terrified. And I mean, that's fucking, what, like 10, like 13 years later, this guy was still scared. I can't blame him. But fuck that. Okay. Let's think of another one. I don't know. I know a good one. Okay. This is also my family. So I'm gonna do two from my family, two from me, and then two recent ones. So it'll probably only be like an hour long video for the scary stories. But the second one for the family one is the okay, don't get at me. It was a midget with a knife. Don't say nothing. That's just what they told me, okay? Let me explain. Let me give some context to that. So, what they told me for the midget and the knife was that they lived in this really old kind of barn house. And in this barn house, it was like a 4 bedroom, 2.5 bath, and it had an attic and a basement. Well, to get to the basement, you had to go through the half bathroom, which was connected to like the laundry room. So like I don't know the whole story about that. I don't know the engineer choices made for that guy. But there was a half bathroom connected to a laundry room and there was a door. So there to get into the room, you would basically it was kind of L shaped. You would walk in from one way and that would be entering it, and then you would basically take a sharp left and go straight through another door and it would lead you to the stairs to the basement. Well, my aunts were about let's say I don't really know the age. I just know they're pretty young. Like they weren't in their teens yet. And we all know girl code. If one girl goes to the bathroom, at least one or two other girls are gonna follow. Okay, you never go to the bathroom by yourself. They followed that shit, and but they also just didn't like that bathroom. But at the time, they were living with a group of other family members, so it was the only bathroom that they could have gotten to at the time without waking everybody up. Because like the other bathrooms were like across fucking hallways and like all the they were like literally right there. They were like right, like just literally down the hallway. It was right there. So my aunt asked my mom. She's like, I need to go to the bathroom. Can you come with me? And obviously, my mom, fucking following girl code here. She's like, sure, yeah. So they go to this bathroom, right? My aunt's going, and she's just like, mate, don't leave me. Don't leave me. obviously sibling rivalry, you want to fuck with them, right? So my mom decides she's going to mess with her and she's going to open the basement door because, huh, what better way to scare your sister than by opening the basement door and then running out the door you just came from and leaving her in there with the basement door open, okay? Well, here's where the fucking midget comes in. She said that she opened the door, and when she did, she had something had caught her eye, and it was like a glint, like something like reflective had hit when when like the light hit down the stairs, and so she looked down, and what she saw was this very small man dressed with clown makeup, and she doesn't really remember anything too much of it other than it was like a really pale face with red marking from the edges of its mouth up. So kind of think of like the Joker kind of. And what glinted in her eye was, she said, looks like either a shard of glass or a knife was in this fucking midget's mouth, and it was crawling. Now, you guys fucking know this shit. I can't do crawling. But she said it was like it was doing the like bear crawls, but like up the stairs. And it was going like super fucking slow. Like it wasn't like running at them, right? It was like it was almost teasing in a way how slow it was slowly crawling up these fucking stairs. So obviously she freaks out. She like slams the door shut and she starts screaming her head off. And my aunt, she says that when it happened, she didn't see anything down the stairs, but she saw my mom freak out. And so essentially, she basically fucking ran. And she didn't pull up her pants. She didn't even finish her business. She ran away peeing. Yeah, I don't blame her. I'd have done the same thing too. Like even if I didn't see it, as long as I know that there's something like that going on, I'm not playing that game. Like no. Not how that works. But she went and she told her mom, which was my grandmother. She went and told her, and she was just like, "Hey, this is what happened. There's this man. There's this man down there, and he's a knife in his mouth." And obviously, my grandmother doesn't believe her, and so she goes down there. They can't find this guy nowhere. No, no signs, no looks, nothing. They can't find this guy, and it goes down as this little like pseudo legend, I guess, because my family still owns that house. It's just not like this is all the way up fucking Michigan. I ain't nowhere near here, or at least where I live now. But we have relatives that still own that house, and they still talk about that. They still talk about that fucking midget with a knife in its mouth because it was so vivid how my mother explained it, and it just stuck ever since then. Like I, I stuck with nightmares, yeah. Cause fuck that. Mm-mm. Which I mean, then again, if you really think about it, it could have been just an intruder. Bro could have been dumb and thought they didn't see him, I guess, and just slowly crawled up. But she says that it made direct eye contact with her, like it looked at her, like it knew she could see him, and it was like he was purposefully trying to scare her. So I mean, I guess it could have done that. You know what I mean? Like it could have. That's all I know about that one. So we've done two past, and now we're gonna do two me stories. Let's see. Well, some good ones. Okay. Here's a good one. Before before I moved out of my parents' house and I was still living with my parents, I had this one creepy ass experience. And it's not really paranormal. I mean, it could be, but I don't want to claim it as that because it's not really something that like I didn't see it, so I can't state that it was paranormal. So let me explain. I had gotten my dog before I'd moved out of my parents' house and moved into my own building myself. And I've had her since she was a puppy, and I've been training her ever since. So she knows to sit, she knows to stay, she knows not to chase any just regular fucking dog out there, right? She knows her commands. I, as most kids, I need to get out. I need to walk, I need to get some air, I need to just chill, right? Well, obviously this wasn't the fucking best night to do it because I go and I go outside with my dog and she has her, her leash on and everything, and we start walking. And if you were to leave the trailer that I lived in then and just to keep going straight, it would lead to a fork that leads to a gate that leads to this dirt road that just fucking goes on forever towards the middle of fucking nowhere, okay? I was walking towards that gate because I was gonna walk out the gate and I was gonna keep going straight and then I was gonna come back, just take some time to cool off my head. I've walked this path hundreds of times. There's never been a moment where I haven't walked this path. But it's also, as I said, the middle of fucking nowhere. So there is stuff out there. I've just never ran into it till then. What happened was that me and my dog are walking and she's staying by my side. She's following my lead. I mean, if she's pulling, it's because she's trying to go sniff certain grass patches. You know how dogs are. We get to about, I want to say we get about less than 10 yards from the gate fence and she stops. I mean, like, she just dead point stop. Like, she freezes and her ears are going fucking crazy. And so automatically, we'll fucking notice that shit. I'm like, no, you probably thought I'd say I noticed it. No, I don't notice that. I'm still walking, right? I'm just continuing straight. My head is in the fucking clouds. I'm angry over whatever the hell I got angry about that I needed fresh air for. And then like as I'm walking, she stops. So the lead stops, and I'm like, oh shit, I turn around, I'm like, Sally, what's wrong? It's the same dog I have now. So at least I know she'll like at least give me like a warning, I guess. Like you'll see what I mean when I say that. I'm like, Sally, what's wrong? And I'm standing there and I'm looking back at her, and behind her is the porch light that we have for our house. And then behind me is just total darkness. I can't see anything. There's no lights. There's no like sense lights, nothing like that. Like it's just dark. And she gets like her ears go back, her hunches go up, and she starts growling. And it's not like it's not like a growl where you don't it's not like a light growl. Like sometimes they can do that to like just threaten people. I mean, she sounded like she was going to fucking fling herself at something. Like she was defending herself. That type of growl. So automatically, I'm thinking, oh shit, there's something out here. Now I'm getting the hint, right? Now that shit's getting this far, I'm getting the hint. Something's wrong. So I'm slowly walking towards her, and I'm looking in the direction she's looking because she's looking to the fence, but not past the fence. Like she's looking at the fence, but it's like it's closer. Like she's looking into a dark corner somewhere near the fence that I can't see. She can obviously see where the fuck I can't see. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, Sally, let's go. And I'm slowly leading her back. And she's posted up. She's standing. She's looking at this thing and she's growling. Like, no barks, nothing like that. Growling. Like, she's like trying to defend herself. And we get probably 5, 6 feet back. Like we were able to take these couple steps back. And let me tell you what this bitch does. Like I know I'm still kind of heated about this, even though it's been so long since it's happened. Which I know this is supposed to be a scary story, but what this bitch does, I can't see what's happening. So like I'm relying on her to get me out of this situation because I can't see. Something happens in this. But when I tell you that when I saw her run, my life flashed before my eyes. I was gone. I said, nope. I mean, I couldn't keep up with her, but you damn straight best believe I wasn't that far behind when she got to that door. I got there and I banged on his door because my mom had closed it. I didn't even think about fucking just opening it and walking in. Like, I'm freaking out. My mom comes out and she's still mad, but whatever the fuck I'm talking about. But she's like concerned. Like, you can see the concern. She's like, "What's wrong? What is it? What is it?" And she's like, telling me to calm down and whatever. So, the reason why I say I'm not sure it was paranormal or not is because we didn't live like in the best area. It could have been someone, and in the same context, it could have been a wild animal. It's the middle of nowhere. There could have been boars. There could have been a deers. Which I mean, I feel like she would have chased a deer. Like, I don't think she'd be scared of a deer. And a boar, I don't think she'd be scared of a boar either. Like, she's this big, like 87-pound dog. Like, there's no way. Well, I mean, now she's no. Then she wasn't 87 pounds, and then she was probably like 24, 25 pounds. And she was still a puppy. So I mean, yeah, I guess she really could have ran away from anything. But for the stories behind that, the area that we've been, I knew people my age that were telling me that they'd seen shit out there. Like, they'd seen stuff and like stuff crawling and moving around like an animal, but huge. Like, if I believed we could have cougars out there, it could have been a cougar. But it just doesn't match anything because nowhere out there could there be any area for a cougar to be at. Then again, it's also the country, so I don't know. Uh, I don't even know if she do that now because she did it then. Left my ass. It was crazy. Good for fun though. For fun. Mm. I think what's another one that's past me? Hmm. Okay. See, I said scary stories. I didn't say scary paranormal stories. This is a real life story. Like, a real person did this to me. So we all know Walmart's pretty dangerous. Not just because of, fucking, people trying to steal or, people fucking shooting their guns and shit in there. No, no, no. Walmart's pretty dangerous for human trafficking. Okay. Like, they'll snag little kids and run. Okay. I hope to God I never see it happen. But when I tell you that this scenario almost became a reality for me, it was crazy. It was so terrifying. I hope to never have anyone that I know experience this because there could have been nothing I could have done in that scenario if it did play through the way they wanted it to play through. So what happened was me, my mother, and my little sister had all went to the store. And my little sister's she's a little fancy pants. She does not like walking. So she's sitting in the cart and I'm following my mother around and we're just getting these groceries. And and so as we're walking through Walmart, we're going aisle by aisle by aisle, right? Going through, picking stuff up we need, picking stuff up we don't need. And my mom, she starts acting like antsy. Like, she starts like fidgeting and she starts like looking behind me a lot and I'm confused. I'm like, what's going on? I said, Mom, what's wrong? And she's just like, stay next to me. And I'm like, okay. And I'm a teenage girl at this point, right? I'm like, I want to say 15, 16 years old. And she, like, I don't need to stay by her, okay? But she sounded so, like, scared. like something was gonna happen. So I did. I stayed right next to my mom the entire time when we walked through that store. She's like, stay next to me, and I'm like, okay. So we're going through one of the aisles, and I can vividly remember it was a pasta aisle. I remember seeing the fucking panini shit right next to me, or the whatever the fuck that shit's called. And she stops and she turns around, and like I don't even see this guy. Like it was such like she turned around so fast, it would have gave me whiplash. Okay, like she's like, you need to leave us alone, and she like gets assertive, like she gets loud. And so I turn around and there's this Hispanic guy, and he is not dressed to impress. Okay, he's like wearing like these very bland outfit, like it's just like a white shirt and like blue jeans, and he was wearing like blackish boots. I don't know any of the brands of these. Even now to this day, I still don't really remember what he wore, but I just knew it was like bland. Like it would have faded into the background. Like you wouldn't even think about that like being something to look out for. And she's like, "You need to leave us alone." She's like, "This is the third." No, she's like, it was like the fifth aisle or something that he had been following us through, and like every time she turned around, he was there. And she just kept seeing him over and over and over and over again. So she started getting suspicious. She's just like, you know, this is wrong. You're doing something you're not supposed to do. You need to leave us alone. She starts like getting assertive. And I'm sitting there and I'm my full attention. Like, I'm like paying attention to my mom and this guy. Mm-mm. I hear what sounds like a cry. And so I turn my head and so if you think of a Walmart aisle with like the bread on one side and like the fucking pasta on the other side. My mom has the cart almost directly against the pasta aisle so that there's still walkway for people to come in. I'm standing like in the middle of the aisle in front of the cart, and my little sister's sitting in the cart with the buckle on, which is important to remember, with her buckle on. And my mom is standing. She had already started to advance on this guy. Like she was like, I mean, she was posting up. Like she was trying to get this guy away from us. And she was walking, she was like doing like little jumps towards him, trying to get him to like back the fuck up. Um, so it's her, no, it's this guy, it's her, and then there's me in the middle of the aisle, and then there's my little sister in the cart, and she's like right against this aisle. I hear what sounds like, I don't really want to say it was like a whimper. It was like the cart was moving very aggressively, or like at a very short, like like a jerk motion. And so I turn around and there's like this other motherfucker, and he had grabbed the cart, and he had like pulled the cart towards him. And I have never in my life seen my mother move as fast as she did. Because when she heard that, she turned around and she was already grabbing on that cart. I mean, like, she was a good like 4 or 5 feet away from me, and that was with me between the cart and this. I wasn't on the cart; I was between the cart, so I don't even know how far away. I don't think I was only like 2, 3 feet away, but she was like two. She was like 5 feet away from me. Okay, so like she turned around, grabbed that cart, and she starts screaming. She is pissed, and she's like, "Don't you touch my cart! My daughter's on this cart. You are not allowed to touch her." And she is freaking the fuck out. And I'm freaking out now because I'm just like, oh my God, this guy just tried to grab this cart with my little sister in the cart. And now I'm like, you know, I'm 16, 17. I'm sitting there and I don't know what to do. Knowing that I'm this age, knowing that this is what's happening, I'm still like, what the fuck? Like I'm not aware of what I need to do. in that situation. But these guys back off. I mean, like they put their hands up and they walk away, but they're like making this motion, like they're sheepish, like they're embarrassed they got caught, right? So I stick with my mom the entire way back there. I mean, we don't even finish shopping. We just take the cart. We take my mom grabs my little sister. This time she has her out of the cart and she's holding on to her, and we just go pay and we leave. But when I tell you that these fucking men followed us all the way out the doors of the Walmart, there was a Walmart employee that was out there, and my mom asked if he could help with groceries, and she told him what was going on, and he was just like, yeah, we'll talk to someone about it. Which is crazy that there was such a big scene made and like no one did anything. Like it wasn't like the Walmart was dead, right? There was other people there, but like the way they played it off, it just no one reacted to it. um but no, yeah, no, they followed us, and then as soon as the guy that was there went with us, and he like helped us put the groceries away and everything, and we left, we didn't see them again. But that's a terrifying story. It was scary because me, now that I'm older, I can only imagine what my mother felt at the time. She only had herself and her 16-year-old daughter and her like 2-year-old kid in the cart. Like, what could she have done, in that scenario with two men trying to do something? And I don't want to, I can't say that it wasn't kidnapping or like child napping or anything, because they were going they were like directly looking at my little sister. They weren't trying, I mean, yeah, they looked at me, but like it was planned, and that's scary shit right there. That scenario scary. But yeah, no, that one, that brings back like some shakes. Okay, that one was scary. Okay, so now we're gonna do two recent stories. How recent are we talking? I'll give myself about a 2-year stance, right? So this is 2 years. This is recent. Let's see. What recent ones do we have? Hmm.
I saw that.
Oh, okay. Me and my husband had bought a house, or at least we're in the process of mortgaging a house. And when we first moved in, this was a house that had been built in the 40s, and like people periodically lived here, but they didn't live here often. So it was like a shell. Like it was like walking into a shell of something that used to have life in it. It was very devoid, okay, of anything. It was like a hollow kind of. When we first moved in, we moved in the same day that we signed for the papers for this place. And so we're bringing all this shit in. I have people over because they're helping us move stuff. It's like a whole thing, right? We settle down for the night. We literally just have like a mattress and uh we have like a mattress and like one chair. We don't have a lot, but all the stuff that we did bring, which is stuff that I had gotten scrounged about, was all sitting in the living room waiting to be put away. We had gotten to the place late. We didn't have time to put stuff away, so it's all just sitting in one spot. None of the curtains are covered. I mean, like it's basically just a house. Like there's nothing blocking anyone from looking in, and that's why we had our lights off, because I mean, you can't see anything and there's no lights. Um we get we're laying in the room. Well, this one's kind of hard because it's a two-part. There's two things that happen that make it scary. Um we're laying in our bedroom, and the closet doors are like the bendable doors, like they fold into themselves to open, and they're closed, right? Like I had thrown the boxes that I was gonna mess with tomorrow into that closet, and I was like, I'm gonna fuck with these later, right? We were laying on our mattress on the floor, and I hear what sounds like them getting like pushed in. Like it's not like an intense shake, you know. It's nothing like that. It's like wind's hitting it and it's like slowly like shaking by itself. And I hear that. So I'm sitting there and my husband's obviously fucking dead, passed out, sleep, okay? Um I hear it and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this fucking closet door and I'm like, what the fuck? You know, like what is that? Is there animals? Like is there something in there? Like, you know, it's a house that hadn't been touched. I don't know. You know, I knew that it was empty when I put shit in there, but like anything can happen, okay? Anything's viable at this point. Um, so I go and I get to the door and I get up and I get to the door and I open it. I don't see nothing. I now my first mistake. I had brought my phone with me with a flashlight. What happens when there's a room with open windows and with light? You can see inside, but you can't see outside. So here's the scary part. Other than the door shaking, which, you know, could have been anything. The draft could have came in. It could have been like the feng shui is weird and that's why it's shake. There's so many things that could have happened with that scenario. The scary part that happened was that I had heard what sounded like someone had, like it was almost like pressure had been released from the window behind me. Do you know, like when you're leaning on something and it's used to having that pressure, so when you let go, it like expands, but it makes it like a sound. It's like I can't really explain the sound, but it's like a, you know, like it moves back into place. Like it was held in a spot for so long that when it moves back into place, it makes up like a weird audible sound. I hear it, so I turn around, right, and I'm looking out this window, and you know, I have my flashlight pointing out the window so I could see. I don't see nothing. I don't see anything. I don't hear nothing no more. So I'm like, new house. I'm hearing shit because it's a new house. It's settling. I'm just gonna lay the fuck down. I'm not even gonna think about it, right? Next day pulls around, and when I fucking tell you, I almost shit my fucking pants. I almost shit my fucking pants because on that windowsill, the same place that I heard that sound was two dusty ass handprints. Like someone had been looking through the fucking window that same night. It was terrifying. I mean, like the same day, like we woke up, we saw that, and I said, fuck that shit. We went, we got curtains, and we covered up all the curtains and we covered up all the windows in the house. And I was like, I can't, no. We changed the locks. I was so terrified because I was just like, who the fuck was watching me that night? You know, like I get that like someone new moved in, but like who the fuck walks up to someone's window? How long had they been standing there for me not to notice? Like, and it wasn't like kid hands. Like you can see the difference between like a kid's hands or even just a woman's hand. This was a grown ass man's hands on my windowsill looking into the room. And it wasn't, I checked to make sure that it wasn't on my side and it wasn't. It was on the outside. So that was pretty terrifying. I'm not gonna lie to you. That one was pretty bad. Let's see. We have one more recent story. You know what? Actually, finale story. We're gonna tell a good one, just because it's the last story before I get off this live for our scary stories today. This one's bad. So I decided that I was going to hang out with my friend, and me and her were fanatics. We love getting into shit, right? Well, we had went through a phase where we wanted to be paranormal investigators. Okay, everyone's been through the phase. I would probably still do it now. Like this one scared me, but not so bad. Um, but we decided we're gonna be we're gonna be a little adventurous, right? For the most part, we've just been like before this day, we had been just going to like the park and like doing like voice recordings and like having the EMF readers and all that out, which is the thing that dials from like green to like red to show you if like something with a big electric pulse is nearby, basically. Um, so we've been doing like little shit like that. Well, we decided we're gonna up the fucking ramp, right?
Yeah,
We're gonna pump that bitch up because we're not getting any action. We're getting a little bit every once in a while, and it's nothing really too extreme. It's just little words that seem to answer our questions, but as I said, could just be a coincidence. Like it only happens like once, and then the rest of it's just gibberish. So we're like, we're gonna fuck this shit up. We're gonna rev it up a little bit. So we decide, like the early adults we are, we're gonna go to a cemetery. Cool. And it's not like, I mean, a cemetery is a cemetery regardless, but it was like one of those, which is worse, obviously. It's one of those like rundown cemeteries that don't have any gates. It's just open like all the time. And it's like in this secluded area that even I haven't heard of. Like she knew it because she lived in that area and she knew this cemetery. And it was like an actual people cemetery. It wasn't like an animal cemetery. No, no, no. It was people. Um, so we're like, let's go, and we're going to. Here it is. You ready? The kicker. We're gonna make our own Ouija board. Okay, we're not gonna go buy one. We're gonna make one. And my understanding is that if you make it yourself, it's more personal, so it's technically more powerful in its own way. Um, so we're like, yeah, we're gonna fuck stuff. We take this paper Ouija board that's drawn in, and we have this little like piece of like plastic piece that we can like slide across if we need it. It's rough. It's roughly made, okay? We decided this last minute. And we go to the cemetery, we park, we turn off all our lights. And I'm like, okay, we've been making recordings all day, so I'm like, I'm gonna leave this recorded. I'm gonna leave my phone, I'm gonna let it record the entire time. And we'll go back and we'll review it again and we'll see if we get any responses, we'll see if we get any answers. So we sit down, we start talking, and I can remember this so vividly because it was, I mean, the whole conversation. I remember having this conversation. We're sitting there and we're talking about random shit because first we're just like, oh my god, it's so eerie here. Like it's so quiet, so silent. And we're looking out the front, we're looking out the window to the cemetery because we're still in the car. We didn't get out, thank God. But we're looking out, and I'm looking at these headstones, and they're just old and chipped away. And I looked at her and I said, "Is it windy?" She's like, "What?" And I said, Is it windy outside?" And so I'm looking and I'm looking at this patch of grass and I can see it moving, like it's slowly swaying, but like nothing else is moving. Like it's just this patch of grass that I'm looking at. And like there's hanging branches, there's bushes, there's other patches of grass, but none of them are moving. It's just this patch of grass. And I'm like, what? I'm like, is it windy out? Like, and then so like we're sitting there, we're talking, and I'm like, I don't think it's windy out. And we pull our, she pulls her phone out, and it's not showing like the weather. It's just showing that it's clear outside, and it's not showing any wind or anything like that. And so we're sitting there, and we're just like, what the fuck? And then we start asking questions on our Ouija board, like, is there anybody here? Um, shit like that, and I mean, basic Ouija board questions. Okay, we don't get a response, or at least I don't. Like there's nothing like bizarre going off that I know of. There's nothing bizarre going off at that moment. And so obviously I'm like, okay, I don't really, I'm not sensing anything. I'm not really feeling anything, but I can feel that it's unsettled. Like there's something here, but I don't feel threatened by it. Like I don't feel scared by it or anything. Like I'm pretty headstrong in the sense. So like unless it really does something to scare me off, and I'm not gonna get phased, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh well, I mean it's okay. I turn over and this bitch is bawling. Like her, like she was fine. We were doing these things together, and then all of a sudden she turns to me, her eyes dark red, like, and she just starts like streaming of tears, and I'm like, oh my god, what's wrong? And she's just like, I don't know, something's wrong. Like I feel so sad, and I mean she's bawling her eyes out, and I'm just like, oh my, I was like, oh, I was like, I don't know what to do in this situation. I was like, okay, I was like, it's okay. I said, we can leave if you want. And she's just like, I feel like, I feel so sad. And like, I mean, she's bawling her eyes out. So I'm like, okay, we can leave. I said, let's go home. Just drop me off and we'll go home and it's fine. If this was too much for you, she's like, I don't know. It's just, I'm so sad. And she just keeps repeating this, right? And so I'm sitting there, I'm like, what the fuck? So I pull we cancel the Ouija board. We turn it off, right? We fucking say goodbye and shit, and put it in the back seat. And I grab my phone from where I had set it, which was like between the dashboards, and I turn off the recording, right? So the last thing I said for the recording was was like, it's all right, yeah, we can go home. That's fine. And that's when the recording ends, right? we get we back away, and I mean she's still crying, and then we get to the highway which leads back to our home, or at least my house, and she's just like, I feel better now. She's like, I don't know what happened, like all of a sudden I couldn't, it it was like I was covered in sadness, and I couldn't get out of it, and I'm just like, hey, I was like, are you okay? Like, is it okay? And she's like, yeah, no, I feel better now. It's just, I don't know, it was so weird. And so she's sitting there, and we're driving in silence, right? 'Cause she's trying to get whatever happened to her through her head, trying to like process it and stuff. And so I pull my phone out and I go to listen to the recording, and I can hear the beginning of the recording. So I'm listening to it, and about 5 minutes in, it's me sitting there talking about the grass, right? I can hear myself. Well, yeah, no, I can hear myself talking about the grass, and I'm like, I don't hear anything, nothing's going on. And then as soon as you hear me say something along the lines of, okay, let's grab the Ouija board, as soon as I say that, silence, nothing. Like I turn it up, I turn my phone up, I like get out, go back on, nothing. Like for the almost the whole hour and a half after that part, dead silence. You can't hear nothing. Like none of the questions asked, not me asking her if she's okay, not us like talking about any other topics. I mean, we didn't just talk to the ghost. We also sat and we chatted ourselves. Like like that whole hour and a half gone. Like how did it caught the other one in such good clarity? Like it we could it was like it was right there. I mean, obviously it was right there with us, but I mean, like it sounded like you were just re-listening to someone talking to each other right there. And then all of a sudden just silence. And usually the way the sound maker I had worked was that if it was a straight bar unless there was sound coming through, and then it would do a little, little kind of like the heart monitor kind of thing. It would do a little jiggle, and it did it straight line. And then I mean, I listened to this whole thing, and I'm telling Ariel, I said, Ariel, this is so fucking weird. Or my friend, her name's Ariel. But I'm like, this is so fucking weird. Can't you hear this shit? Like, there's nothing. And she's like, are you sure it's not just messed up? And I'm like, no, it's not. It's this is the way, it's coming through. And right when I'm thinking, it could have fucked up. Like, it could have just been me. That messed it up. Like, I could have hit it or something like that. You can hear me pick it up and go, okay, now we can go home if that's what you like. I can end it here. And then that's the end of the fucking recording. So when I tell you, for almost 2 hours on this bitch, an hour and 30 minutes of it, just dead silence. But you can hear when you can hear the beginning of it for the first like 25 minutes, and then you can hear the last 5 minutes of it. I wasn't holding the phone for the first 25 minutes. The phone was in the spot it had always been in. Like it didn't like I didn't move it. Like I never touched it once I put it down. Like I put it down before once I started the recording, and then I didn't touch it again. And I mean, when I tell you I went through everything to like try to contemplate what it could have been, because when I still had the recording, which I don't have no more, because I got a new phone, so I fucking lost it because it's a piece of shit. It didn't save to the to the cloud. But when I went back to try to recreate it, I put it on top of the air vent with the air vent on high. I put it back in the same spot, and we just left it there, and we talked, and you could hear the conversation clear as day. And with the air vent, it made sound. So like the line didn't stay steady, it just stayed constantly like going crazy because it was making a sound. So I don't know what it was that made it react that way, but that was fucking creepy. So we were thinking that it was the Ouija board, and in that sense, because it was something that was like that, like it was the feeling that was like that, we decided to get rid of the Ouija board, and in that context, we made sure we said goodbye, and then we tore it up and we burnt it. Which we already said goodbye in the first place, but I was just like, just to be safe, you know, we went through, we said goodbye one more time, and then we tore it up and we burned it. What scared me though was when we burned it, it wouldn't burn at first. Like it was also like it was kind of like laminated, like it was a laminated kind of paper that you can get from like fucking Walmart. So it obviously didn't catch at first, but then it did, and then it was gone like within seconds. So that was a creepy experience. It made me really question the supernatural, like stuff that you can't see with your eyes, because that was probably one of the, not the most, but one of the experiences that I've had that's like that actually could happen. Like that could be real. Like that's fucking terrifying. But yeah, no. Those are our scary stories for today. Thank y'all for listening. I hope y'all had a blast with this one. If it gets a decent amount of views or likes, I'll probably continue it. I am trying to get a couple of other uh types of games on here, which this upcoming Tuesday's game is pretty fucked up. So, um, I hope y'all are ready for that. But thank y'all for watching. I'll see y'all next time.